Hi everyone, Dr. Scott here. Today we're going to make the brain body connection incredibly clear. What is it? Why it matters during back to school and fall sports, and how modern science is measuring changes in attention, stress, and recovery. This episode is pure education, no diagnosis, no treatment plans, just how it works. Behind concepts you've been hearing about chiropractic neurology, photobiomodulation, or brain laser therapy, full body laser for recovery, and the idea of autonomic balance you'll see in HRV research. Quick favor, if you enjoy learning at this level, subscribe free to our Elite Family Chiropractic newsletter. You'll see the link in the description. That's where I put the graphics, the articles, and study roundups. And please share this episode newsletter with one parent, teacher, or coach who'd love a calmer, stronger school year for their kids. Think of the body as an orchestra. The frontal lobes act like the conductor, planning, attention, self-control, things like that. The cerebellum sets timing and coordination of posture, eye movements, and smooth transitions. The limbic system colors everything with emotion and meaning, safety, excitement, overwhelm. And the autonomic system is the metronome, controlling heart rate, breathing, and the stress dial. Here's the interesting part. The spine and its sensors, muscles, joints, and ligaments, are like the tuning pegs. They send a constant stream of where am I information, called proprioception, back to the brain. When that stream is clean, the conductor hears every instrument and keeps the piece on tempo. When the stream is noisy, think static in the microphone. Attention drifts, posture fades, movements feel a little off, and the stress dial creeps up. If you've ever wondered how scientists track better organization in the nervous system, they don't measure vibes. They measure signals. You'll see tools like EEG, which measures brain waves, fNIRS or fMRI, which measures things like blood flow and oxygenation in the cortex, HRV, the beat-to-beat variations that reflect autonomic flexibility, eye tracking for attention and reading stamina, and cognitive tasks like working memory or reaction time tests. When the system adapts well, we tend to see steadier attention networks, calmer autonomic tone, and more efficient timing. From a neuroscience perspective, the most interesting part of chiropractic care is its effects on sensory input. Gentle, precise adjustments change how joints and muscle receptors fire. That altered input ascends through the spinal cord into the cerebellum and a region called the thalamus, and then up to the cortex. In plain terms, it's a way of changing the data the brain is working with. Clean data helps the brain build a clear body map, which supports posture, endurance, eye movement control for reading, and the stay on task circuits in the frontal lobe. Notice, I'm not telling you what to do, just giving you the why behind why this field studies proprioception and sensory motor integration so closely. Now, brain laser therapy is a huge piece of our practice. So photobiomodulation is another term for it, but what we call brain laser. It uses specific red and near infrared light. At the cellular level, light interacts with mitochondrial enzymes. You'll hear them called cytochrome C oxidase to influence ATP production, energy production, oxidative stress, and nitric oxide signaling. System level studies then observe changes in cerebral or brain blood flow, EEG rhythms linked to attention and performance on working memory tasks, especially when light is delivered over the frontal networks, what we talked about before, the prefrontal areas. That's why many researchers are curious about PBM during heavy cognitive load, like the back to school ramp up period, and in recovery contexts, post illness, post impact, and general stress. Zooming out, there's another area. Things like full body photobiomodulation is being explored for systemic effects. Things like sleep quality, perceived recovery, soreness, and daily energy. This conceptual model is simple. If many tissues are a bit inflamed and energetically taxed by training and schedule stress, a global light stimulus might nudge microcirculation, mitochondrial output, and inflammatory tone in a favorable direction. What's interesting scientifically is that some studies observe sleep improvements as one of the earliest changes after whole body sessions. That's relevant for students and athletes because sleep is the master recovery switch. We used to look at sleep for things like memory consolidation, hormone balance, and tissue repair. These all ride on our sleep quality. Now, let's decode the HRV, also known as heart rate variability. HRV is a window into the autonomic nervous system. How flexible the body is at shifting between sympathetic, go, fight or flight response, and parasympathetic, recover. Higher, more resilient HRV is generally associated with better adaptability to stress. When you hear that something improved HRV, it doesn't mean magic. It means the metronome of the system became more flexible. In practice, That flexibility shows up as steadier moods, cleaner transitions between tasks, and better bounce back after practices or exams. Now, a lot of you asked how Apollo Neuro fits into this picture because you've maybe seen me wear them or you've heard me talk about them. So, educationally speaking, Apollo uses rhythmic, low frequency vibrations delivered to the skin. The brain interprets that as soothing, predictable touch, which routes those through what are called somatosensory and vagal pathways that send safety signals to the autonomic nervous system, and they shift autonomic tone towards balance. In research settings, you'll see outcomes like acute HRV changes, stressed task performance. Can people keep their cognitive performance under pressure is basically what that means. And trajectories and sleep metrics over weeks. For kids and students, that's an interesting intersection. It equals a calmer baseline and clearer attention networks, which is exactly what you need when you start getting into the demands of school and sports seasons. Now, why do these topics cluster in August and September? Because load changes fast. New classrooms, earlier mornings, more screen-based reading, heavier practices. Each of those taxes a different part of the system. Frontal networks handle planning and sustain attention. The cerebellum and the brainstem juggle posture, eye movements, and timing. The autonomic system sets whether the lights are bright, go mode, or dim, recovery mode. Understanding this system makes the observation make sense. If posture fades in the last class, if reading focus is good for 10 minutes then drifts, or if practice leaves a student wired at bedtime, those are adaptation signals, not moral failures. The orchestra may just be fighting static and dim lighting. What scientists look for as the system adapts, we're going to really talk about this because here's a big deal with this. Here are interesting non-prescriptive things to notice as a scientist of your own household. Do transitions like school to homework to bedtime feel smoother across the month? Do mornings become calmer even when the schedule gets busier? Does reading stamina stretch a bit before attention drifts? Does your student athlete's next day soreness feel different as routines settle? These are curiosity prompts, not instructions. They help you see the brain-body system as dynamic and trainable. Two quick clarifications. First, attention isn't just a willpower problem. It's a network problem shaped by how well sensory input, timing, and autonomic set points are working. Second, stress isn't just in your head. It's a whole body state you can observe in breathing patterns, HRV, sleep architecture, and how quickly someone returns to the baseline after a stress-related challenge. If you zoom way out, most of what we discussed fits a simple triangle. One is input, the quality of sensory signals traveling from the body to the brain. Two, energy, mitochondrial capacity and blood flow that powers networks. And three, regulation, autonomic flexibility to match demand and recovery. When those three are supported, the conductor can actually conduct, the timekeeper keeps time, and the orchestra plays together, even under bright lights and tight schedules. A healthy scientific posture says we need more large blinded trials in diverse age groups. We need better standardization of laser parameters, and we need longitudinal data linking objective measures, EEG, HRV, sleep metrics, to real-world outcomes like classroom performance and season-long readiness. That's the frontier. If you love this kind of thing, you'll love our Elite Family Chiropractic newsletter roundups, where I link to reviews like Hamlin's PBM overview, transcranial photobiomodulation prefrontal studies, and the latest autonomic research. Now, moms and dads, your role isn't to micromanage biology. It's just to stay curious. I want you to start thinking about noticing patterns, ask better questions, and understand why certain weeks feel heavier. When you view your child through the orchestra lens, behavior starts to look less like won't and more like can't yet under this load. That shift alone changes how families approach school nights and practice weeks. Hopefully this is starting to make sense to you. Now, if you want the infographic, the research video links, and a parent-friendly explainer you can forward to your team or your school, subscribe free to the Elite Family Chiropractic newsletter. The link is in the description. It's where I keep everything organized and easy to revisit. And if this episode sharpened your mental model even a little, please share it with just one person. That's how we can spread calm, clarity, and better questions. I'll leave you with one thought. Brains are designed to adapt. When we improve input, support energy, and respect regulation, the system often organizes itself in remarkable ways. During the school sports season, that understanding is power. It turns frustration into a plan to watch, learn, and support without forcing it. Guys, thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm Dr. Scott from Elite Family Chiropractic. Hit subscribe to the EFC newsletter and share the videos and newsletter with someone who's ready for a calmer, clearer year. And guys, I look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.